All right. Thanks for everyone staying with us. It's the last panel. I hope we can make it engaging, right? So also maybe the people in the very back, maybe just wave your hands so that I know that you're listening. Okay, thank you. As this was already introduced, we're going to talk about winning Web3 market entry strategies. I know it's a very long term, but I think that maybe during the course of our conversation with Sharon Ray, we will be able to break this down and give also some practical advices to startup founders especially. So how about we start with a short intro round, and I'm going to maybe start with Cher. Oh, it's yours. Sorry.
Hi everyone, I'm Cher. I'm a VC co-founder. We're based in Hong Kong. We're investing into Web3 projects only, and I also have a few agencies based in Malaysia and Japan, where they would provide a lot of tech solutions and marketing for Web3 in general. And currently, I'm also building a project on my own. It's going to be a AI-empowered affiliated marketing tool for Web3.
Thanks, Cher. I'm going to continue.
My name's Raymond On. I'm from California, Orange County. I've lived there for around 30 years, and I moved to Korea 8 months ago. my mom and sister live here, and so I'm actually a medical school dropout. I was studying to be a doctor. My dad's a dentist, and my mom studied herbal acupuncture, and so I thought, and my grandpa's a pharmacist, so I just thought, and my path is set for me. I'm just going to be a doctor. But the more I studied it, the more I realized kind of how screwed up the whole education system, financial system is. Like my dad, he had to get into like 6 figures worth of debt, and he had to spend like all of his 30s paying it off. And so like watching my dad like kind of slave away and, coming home so tired, just for a paycheck, I just wanted to figure out how do I just make money, because that's the end goal here, right? I think there's a comedian, Ronnie Chang, he's like, when Asian parents want their kids to be a doctor, it's not really to help people, it's for the prestige and the money. And so I started researching how do I make money online. That's when I got into social media marketing, growing Instagram accounts, coaching people on social media. And then a year ago, I started, I've always been trying to find different ways to make money. So NFT flipping was one of those ways. And so I got into Vivi, which is a premium digital collectibles app. Started flipping NFTs there, and then started trading meme coins, and then trading communities around degens. And then I built up my following on Twitter, so I started doing marketing. And just recently, I'm becoming like a super connector for like VCs and projects. And so yeah.
Yeah, you are a super connector. You also introduced me already to many cool people in the Web3 space, so thanks for that, Ray. So my name is JC. I work for Blockchain Founders Group. We are a Germany-based early-stage Web3 investor, and we are running also our own startup incubation program. So if you are early on in your startup venture, ideation stage, pre-revenue, pre-product, then feel free to talk to me. And we are seeing around 1,000 founder applications per year and make around 15 to 20 pre-seed investments per year. And we are really location agnostic. So we are not only focusing on European startups, but we've also already done investments in US startups, startups in UK, in India, but also startups that are operating in Africa. On the side, I'm also leading an education program that is called Web3 Talents. It's 18 weeks of free mentorship to onboard Web2 people to Web3, and this program is for free because we are getting financial support from our partners such as Binance Charity, Algorand, Mastercard, QuantStamp, BitMEX, and others. So feel free to check this out. And very cool. And I guess we can get started with the content of today's panel. And the first question that I have maybe for Cher. It's like, what is maybe the significance from your point of view, also maybe as a background, as a VC, of having a good narrative in Web3?
So I think that really depends on your definition of narrative, how you tell the story, what exactly are you selling? Is there a problem that you're solving in Web3? So I think, for example, a lot of founders are from Web2 space. They wanted to get into Web3 immensely, right? So they think of the business models that have been successful for 20 to 30 years in Web2, and they kind of want to replicate that in Web3. So that's one way to play it. And then, of course, there's a different era right now with all the degens and the NFT founders, collection founders that wanted to easy way in, right? So for example, gaming, a lot of these gaming giants, right, they wanted to get into Web3, so they build out, well, they have teams to build out, for example, tournaments. They have guilds now, right? And they're trying to build all these different, try to be fun Web3 games. And obviously, there are also people who are not even from the gaming industry but wanted to try and make it. So I think there's really no best definition of what a narrative is, right? Or what is like a best one. Because I think everybody's trying to make it in a different way according to their capabilities, right? How techy are they? Are they trying to build an infrastructure, a layer 1, a layer 2, a middle layer, or a D app? So if they're building a D app, like, are they trying to trick investors, or are they trying to do a rug pull? Are they trying to build a super great tokenomics that VCs just cannot resist? Or are they trying to build something that's productive tool, right, that actually has practicality for existing use cases? So I think there's the easiest way, and there's a difficult way, and there's the practical way versus not impractical ways. So yeah.
That's very insightful. Is there any specific narrative that you are currently looking at in particular?
Yeah, so my fund, sorry, I didn't really talk about my fund at all. It's actually a very personal fund with a couple partners that are based in Hong Kong. Some of them are from the Web2 space. Actually, I only have around 3 to 5 LPs. They're actually the listed companies. They're owners of listed companies and PE. So they don't really have a super strong Web3 experience as I would have. But we are all agreeing that AI is going to be the future. And currently, I am actually building that strong thesis for my fund. And that's my current focus.
Oh, super interesting. So you are merging Web3 and AI. I think these are currently the hottest topics in tech.
Definitely, 100%.
Nice. Very cool. What's the take on the importance of narratives in Web3?
I think Web3, people, Web2, it's just you could sell a product on a Facebook ad, but Web3, you're actually you're following communities and founders, and people are on crypto Twitter all the time. They're always trying to find loopholes, find out things about you. I remember that there was the Bored Apes, right? There was a guy named Ryder Rips, and he pretty much was saying, hey, these Bored Ape, images, they have a lot of Nazi symbolism. They have these German hats that were used, by Nazis and all these things. And so and then he went deep into the history of the founder, and he wrote essays on, I believe, was it Hitler? Or he was a writer, and he wrote about Nazis and stuff like that. He was just connecting the dots, and people were like, wow, we don't want to support this, even though this is a blue chip NFT project. So he actually made his own collection, and people were following him. And so that's just one example of how a story can bring people on to your project. And then also, I feel like people are always, trying to find the newest news. For Azuki, the founder said that he actually rug pulled a few projects in the past. And so people were like, well, then why are we supporting you? And so the price kind of went down after that. And so, Web3, people are following founders, communities. You're not just buying a product on Amazon. You're following a community, a mission, a movement. And so I feel like, your narrative has to be important and strong, and because that's where your community will be built around, right? And so, there was a quote I heard, stories sell, but facts tell. So you got to sell people with your story to join your community. So.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing up some real life examples. I really like that, and I can see that you're pretty deep into meme coins and NFTs, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a degen, right? So I started off just
right.
I love Azukis.
Azukis, yeah.
I like CryptoKitties, by the way. The original.
They're from
ERC
Vancouver.
721.
Dapper Labs is in Vancouver. I'm from Canada, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. I also have a own take on the importance of narratives, right? And I actually did study public policy and political science and sociology. So I always think of like how to group or categorize people. And if you look at the people in Web3, maybe they are broadly speaking 3 groups. So one is tourists, right? So they touch Web3, but then they don't like it, they don't understand it, they didn't make any money, so they're just leaving. So basic tourists, they go in, they go out pretty fast. Secondly, they're settlers, right? So these are the actually builders in the space that are building protocols, that are doing governance, that are coming to events such as these, right? And what I find very good these days is that actually the numbers of builders is increasing. So maybe you have taken a look at the Electro Capital developer reports, so the numbers of developers and code pushed to GitHub is actually increasing. And then the third group of people that we are seeing, and this is actually the biggest group in Web3, it's mercenaries, right? So they go into Web3 to make money, right? They are motivated by finances. So I think around 90% or more than 90% of those of people in Web3 are actually mercenaries. They are there to make some bucks, right? And these people are always following narratives, and narratives are changing super fast in Web3. So 2020 was DeFi summer, 2021 is NFTs, PFPs. Then with Arbitrum we had the gambling narrative. Then currently we have privacy, ZK, account abstraction, these kind of things. So the mercenaries are always following the narratives, and this is where the big money is to be made currently. So that's why I think narratives are very important in Web3. Maybe let's take a step back, and Ray, so you've been around also quite some time, right? And you've been also in Web2. Do you see any kind of like differences between Web2 narratives and Web3 narratives? Are there any differences? What's the take?
So I was kind of saying this earlier, Web 2, you could just throw up a Facebook ad and people will buy your product, right? Or, they see your product on Amazon, they'll just buy it from a paid ad. But in Web 3, it's like you gotta convince them either with, hype or either with some sort of promise. So like Web 2, I feel like you actually know what you're getting. Like if I'm gonna pay for a toothbrush, I'm gonna get one, But in Web 3, it's like I'm buying this PFP NFT in the hopes that it will be something worth more. And so there's a lot of rug pulls, there's a lot of people believing these promises, and there's a lot of people with bad intentions who just rug pull and leave. And so I think partly it's because it's so new, such a new industry. Like people, even now, like what can a Bored Ape really do? You can't really do anything with it, right? It's just, if you could build something on top of it, that's what you built, but it's not what they're building for you. So, and they're still building out their metaverse. So I feel like, but there are actually some good use cases like ticketing for NFTs. I think Ticketmaster is releasing NFTs as well. Also like transparency, and you can't really take it back. That could be a good or bad thing, right? In Web 2, you could order something, get a refund. In Web 3, you can't just get a refund on what you bought, right, on the blockchain. So, those are some differences I would say. And in Web 2, you don't really need to build a community. You could just sell direct, pay for a bunch of ads. Web 3, you kind of have to sell them with a promise or with something else than just a paid ad.
I like the last point. Thanks. Share. Do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Nice pun. Waking me up.
It was unintentional, I swear.
Actually, I wanted to not really correct, but I would want to say that there's quite a lot of derivatives of apes. Because you were talking about how Bored Ape is, not really doing much, other than the fact that it's lost my friends. My friends, VC friends, or a lot of friends who are the old holders of Bored Ape, quite a lot of money because of the recent dump, right, on the prices. There are many derivatives that, like, for example, that Yuga Labs have, like published for like NFT loans, NFT financing, specifically for Bored Apes, right? And currently, recently, we have already seen Paraspace, which is like a newly funded project that basically is kind of in the competition of BenDAO, for example, providing yields and consistent, for example, bridge loans and short-term loans for Bored Ape holders, and of course a lot of other collections as well. But Bored Ape is like featured, right? So there's quite a few. Anyway, what's the question? Sorry.
Oh yeah, differences between Web 2 and Web 3 in terms of narratives.
Right. So the ownership, I think it's ownership. So in Web 2, whenever you post an article on LinkedIn, you want to post something on Facebook, on Instagram, or even if you just create an account, right, on anywhere in the Web 2 space, you don't actually own that piece of, information, right? So the video that you posted on Instagram, if it's violated some kind of rules, right, it will be deleted, right, without you even knowing, and you can't even have any control. So super good example, because I want to wake people up. So a friend of mine from Canada, she posted a picture of a friend of hers, which is a guy, not naked, by the way, just a dude. But then she added a caption on the story on Instagram that says, here's my friend, maybe looking for a girlfriend, single, available, anybody who wants to like get in touch with him, just something that's fun and stuff. They blocked her because they think it's human trafficking. They blocked her, they deleted her entire Instagram account, and that Instagram account, by the way, is connected to her Facebook. So guess what? Facebook is also deleted. And she lost everything just because she posted a story of a good-looking male. So I lost her on my Instagram for a while, and I was like, what happened to her? And then she came back to Hong Kong one time, and then I found out. So that piece of account, right, that you thought you owned is never really yours. It can be deleted, erased, anytime, right? So I think right now what Web3 is providing is maybe a security, maybe it's ownership. It's definitely ownership, privacy, right? And a hope that you can own a part of the internet. Right? I think that's what we're trying to solve, and that's the biggest difference.
Well, I hope you are now getting back in touch with your friend.
Yeah, we are. We connected through LinkedIn.
Okay, my favorite platform, by the way.
Yeah, and WhatsApp.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I think also in terms of like the story also shows that another property of Web3, which is censorship resistance, right?
Censorship.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So my one piece, I just want to double down on what Ray has said in the last sentence about community. I think this is really, from my point of view, the biggest differentiator between Web 2 and Web 3 narratives. Because in Web 2, the relationship between customer and the seller is quite pronounced. It's very transactional. But in Web 3, you really have the community. Actually, you need to build the community first to have a customer base. So the steps are maybe a little bit different, or maybe the prioritization of building an audience, building a community is different between Web 2 and Web 3, and therefore also the narrative needs to be changed, adjusted, tailored towards building an audience first. So that's what I wanted to share quickly. All right, let me check. So yeah, maybe let's get to Ray to again some more real life examples maybe of successful Web 2 projects that have entered Web 3, or Web 3 projects that have entered the Web 3 space in like delivering narratives in a compelling way, moving people maybe with good storytelling, with good traction in terms of like acquiring users. Do you have any examples in mind or any best practices that you can share?
Are you talking about like Web 2 into Web 3?
Both, right? Or? So we haven't talked about this, right? But Web 2 can enter Web 3, but also Web 3 startups can try to get into Web 3 and acquire users.
Yeah, one example comes to mind is when CryptoPunks did that collaboration with Tiffany's, and then they had like a set supply of Tiffany pendants to sell to CryptoPunk holders, and they sold it at like $50,000 a pop. And so
Yeah, that was really
Yeah.
cool. That was this digital NFT narrative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they raised a few million, and it sold out really quick. So I mean, like people in NFTs, like people holding a CryptoPunk, they definitely have money. So it's easy to kind of leverage that and just partner with a brand and just sell that. Another example is like, Nike acquiring Artifact, right? Nike's in Web 2, I guess, but they acquired Artifact to get into the Web 3 space. So I think that's another good example. Instead of trying to start something from scratch, you can acquire something and then use that, to get into it.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it too.
Yeah, you could go.
Okay. I'm just gonna come from like also a founder's point of view. I think that whenever you create a deck or whenever you create some kind of narrative, no matter it's Web 2 to Web 3 or Web 3 in Web 3, I think that in the VC perspective, like what we care about is your tokenomics, like your P&L. Sure, it will be great if you have traction, right? Like if you have an MVP, I mean, in this bear market, we like to look at MVPs, some kind of snapshot of a product, right? I think it's just difficult to really cater everybody, right? Because in Web 2, there are a lot of existing like business models that can be replicated, like what I said about AI. I've been trying to build something that's related, for example, to DAO tools. But then this is, something super practical, has immediate use cases. We're not trying to build a new economy here. But then is that interesting and is that attractive to investors, right? Like it could be the fact that maybe these DAO tools are not exactly creating a really positive P&L for existing DAOs. Like there's not many successful investment DAOs, for example. Impact DAOs, there's only like 3 to 5 that are actually like making an impact, right? No matter if they're launching a successful product in the space or they're building some new tech or they're actually racing consistently, right, throughout the entry membership of the DAO. But I just think that it's really, really difficult to cater everybody's appetite, right? Like there's Web 2 focus VCs, like I wouldn't name names, but then they would have like a Web 3 arm, for example, and they're like big in the market, right? But then what they look at is going to be very different from what like degen or like crypto native web VCs, right? So there's a different play in everything. And it's just hard to really generalize.
Yeah, I love that because actually I also want to hear double down a little bit on what you said previously on like don't cater to everyone, right? You want to have a specific target audience. You want to have a ICP defined, right? So an ideal customer profile. And the only way to get there is to conduct 50 to 100 interviews. There's just no other way around. And I also don't advise like in the early stages to like create questionnaires because with questionnaires you don't interact with the users. You don't get to talk to them. You don't get to interact and ask follow-up questions, right? And if you are at this stage as a startup, right, Google the MOM test, right? It gives you gives good mental models of how to approach interviews with potential customers. And just in terms of like talking and listening, you should talk 10% and you should listen 90%. Yeah, and maybe also a little bit on what Ray has said. I really like the Artifact and Nike example. So I think that was actually a good example of how a Web 2 company or a traditional company or traditionally non-Web 3 company entered Web 3. And just to summarize, right, Ray has said they partnered or they acquired Artifact. So basically a company that has already been in the Web 3 space. And they took actually the time to build a Web3 team within Nike. So they had the time, they had the resources, and they had the priority to build a community first, and then only to launch NFT projects, and then later on also Swoosh, the NFT platform. Another good example is actually Gucci. They partnered with Super Rare. They had a big Web3 team, and that's why it worked out. An example of a project that didn't work out, and I'm really sad about this because, I come from Germany, born and raised in Germany. It was the Porsche NFT collection. Maybe you've heard of it. it didn't work out. They only sold like 25% on the first day, and then somehow it died out because they didn't have any community. They didn't prioritize the community. So I think in this regard, there's a big difference between Web 2 and Web 3 in terms of approaching narratives. Yeah, I think the next question is for you, Cher. It touches a little bit upon fundraising. So what's the take on like how narratives should be structured in maybe pitch decks or when startup founders are talking to VCs to acquire some funding investments?
Yeah, I would like to actually also take the example you just mentioned about Porsche. Like, so recently in Hong Kong, we had a huge event hosted by Hashkey a month ago, I think, almost. And I met a guy who runs a white label solution company called Web3 Pro, something like that. And they actually launch NFT collections for Lamborghini, for a bunch of other race cars in Italy. So he's Italian, but he lives in Silicon Valley. Anyway, so he's been racing for the solution company that he has. And I just think that, you know, like gathering the crowd to actually buy your NFTs are very different from like, you know, gathering, for example, like users, you know, on like a Web3 project, because then even if you have the greatest brands, as you can see from the existing, you know, NFT space, doesn't matter if you're a, you know, some really famous Japanese artist who's making it in Sotheby's, you know, it doesn't matter if you're like a street art designer, creator who hasn't made it, but have a lot of followers, right? Like, you need to first educate, and so that's where I'm gonna leading into like fundraising. So first of all, you need to know exactly like what is the target audience that you're targeting, and how are you gonna approach that audience? Are you going to have a lot of marketing campaigns? Is it because your product is like, you know, acing it in every other way, that you have a really strong competitor analysis that are currently competing and having a strong edge with all these other players in the market? Or are you a pioneer? Are you trying to create a new ecosystem, a new business model that has never been proven successful yet, and trying to make it in some way while you're persuading VCs? So I think there's a lot to talk about in fundraising, but I'm just gonna narrow it down to like what I think in bear market, you know, what you should kind of strategize on, because bear market racing is very different from a bull market race, right? In bull market, you can easily raise maybe 5 to 8 million or even 8 to 10 million with an idea. But then in bear market, people usually like to look at snapshots of the products that you are trying to build, or you will build, or you might be able to build, right? So that mock-up is quite important, I think. And the team, right? Like, are you getting advisors? Or do you have experience of making other people money? Are you a consistent track record of a builder who has built many projects previously? Like, what is the tech, right? Like, what exactly are you trying to solve that have immediate use case, or, you know, a prominent use case for potentially the next narrative of the market, which I believe is going to be a lot about socialify, AI, things like that.
Yeah, very cool. You wanna join?
Back to the point where, like, you know, that's kind of why narratives are important, because I remember I have friends who did marketing for like celebrities, and you know, there was this Chris Brown NFT, just because he has millions of followers, like they didn't sell out, right? And so, the Porsche minting site, I got scammed one time because they said, oh, we didn't sell out, so we're doing free mints. And so I actually got my MetaMask swipe one time because I logged in, which is my fault. But then, anyway, so I think, yeah, people are pretty smart in Web3. They're gonna, like, the scammers are smarter.
Wait,
and also
so did you buy? You didn't buy it?
I didn't buy it, but it was like, oh, I actually, like, the website looked exactly the same, and
You got fished.
Yeah, I got like a scam.
It happens, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, I think, you know, and people on Web3, they're very smart, right? They're always on crypto Twitter. They're like kind of stalkers, but they find out everything about you, right? They know, some of them know how to read transactions, like where they come from. And so, yeah, you need more than just, oh, you're a celebrity to sell out. You really need to build the community, like you said, and build the trust. But it's sad because even after they do that, there's some people who still rug pull their, community. But yeah.
Interesting. I hope you didn't get scammed too often, Ray.
Yeah, not a few times, but not too often.
Learning by doing, and
You
do your
gotta learn.
right, do your own research. Yeah, maybe last point.
Hey, sorry, I actually want to ask who launched that Porsche collection? Is it someone you know?
No. It was just
And
like
that's part
on
of
Twitter.
the problem, I think.
It was on
There was no
Twitter.
personal branding. I think it was just.
Like if you look up Porsche Mint, it comes up. I actually did a post on it, exposing it, and then someone. But anyways, yeah. I can share with you.
Yeah, I think there was just no love,
Sob story
no
for
story.
him. Like, just look at him. He's already like, let's not stop talking about it.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I didn't have many like blue chip NFTs in there, so it's okay.
I got stolen too. I got Adidas NFT stolen.
Oh, it is okay.
But gladly, my Sukis are not in that wallet.
Yeah.
But I was pretty sad about it too,
Like,
because that's yeah.
I'm good at losing money by myself, so they can't. nothing for them to take because I already lost it all.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Let's do crowdfunding for Ray. Yeah. Just touching upon very quickly on the fundraising part and narratives, right? My advice would be also to founders: don't make it too complicated, right? Have beautiful slides, that's all good. One action title that summarizes the key message of your slide, and don't make it too complicated, right? Try to not always use the word of NFT or blockchain. Think more about like the value proposition that you're giving to your customers. I think that should be really the key of things. And just to give you one example, right? So one of the portfolio companies that we have invested in, they previously had the narrative of building a Web3 cookie, right? And if you hear Web3 cookie, okay, it's very abstract, and there's the word cookie. Okay, it's tasty, but it also means a Web2 tooling that can track you, that tracks you, that collects some kind of private information about you. And it's also a technology that will be banned in the near future in Europe, especially because of the GDPR. So it's a dying technology, and it's something that Web2 people really hate, right? So we really advise them to pivot their narrative, pivot their wording, and now they have chosen something like Web3 growth tool, basically an integration that, for instance, NFT marketplaces can use, and that basically gets the transaction history of a wallet that connects to the NFT marketplace. And then depending on the past transactions, depending on credibility and NFT holdings, stuff like that, you get a individualized or customized view of NFTs on the marketplace. So that's basically their idea. All right.
I'm actually building something similar to that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I was just telling you about it. Like, it's powered by AI.
Oh,
So-
competitor.
Not really, not exactly, because not all. Come on, not all. I mean, the user behavior is what they're trying to get. But then I think if you, so right now, GPT-4 is actually forkable, right? It's open source. And we're not trying to build another brain of AI because only millionaires like Elon Musk or billionaires can do that because it takes years of development, right? So we're only building the arms and the legs. And what you were saying just now with that project, they're just focusing on like the data aggregation part, right? So the actual front end of like consumer facing direct interaction is not built. The reason why crypto doesn't have a boom of like where everybody talks about ChatGPT, basically they don't have the ChatGPT moment is because it's not interactive. Crypto is never interactive. You can never talk to, like, there's no, if you wanted to talk to someone on customer service of Binance, you need to wait days, right? There's no direct interaction of crypto. That's why, Bitcoin, you cannot see it, it's not visualized, right? You cannot touch it. The closest thing we have is NFTs, which is why NFT was a hit.
Yeah, and maybe in the near future, fully on-chain games too, maybe, right? I think given the time, right, sorry to the organizers, we should maybe wrap up and give some predictions about the future of Web3. So I think it's a very general question. I guess everyone has his or her own take, but maybe, Ray, what do you think the future of Web3 will look like? What do you think is currently very interesting to follow? what should people do?
You should definitely follow people who are writing updates about it. There's a good newsletter called the King's Newsletter I follow. It's you can message me or talk to me later about it, but like sign up for newsletters, sign up for updates and get news about it. Go to meetups where you can meet other people in the space if you're new to it. As far as I just read this article yesterday that Ripple is going to be used for CBDCs. So I think that we're going to be a cashless society pretty soon. Some are predicting maybe like next few years to 10 years, and so we're going to start using definitely more crypto. Like right now, we're just using I just use my Coinbase card on my phone. Like I don't even have a physical one right now, but I think we'll see more people just going digital, more people in the metaverse, AI chips in our brain, maybe. I'm just kidding. I think that kind of scares me because that's what Elon wants to do. But
He did it already.
I think, no, he wanted to, but he got denied by the government because they did testings on monkeys and some of them died. And so
I thought you already put some like chips on like in women's.
I feel like he
arm.
put it in his son already because he has that weird name. Like you can't even say his name. And
What?
like
Whose
him
name?
and Grimes, they had a kid.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
he
that
has
name.
a name you can't even pronounce like with regularly. So anyways, so yeah, I think AI will change a lot of things, Web3. We'll become more of a global like civilization because in the metaverse there's no boundaries, right? You could meet someone from China and you're in US. Well, actually China is blocking off the metaverse from the US, so I'm not sure about that. But like if you're in Korea, you can meet with someone from US, kind of like when you used to play online games and stuff. And then I mean, just look at, this conference is hosted by a bank, like sponsored. Like, why would a bank want to sponsor this? Because in the metaverse, that's going to be the new way of banking, right? That's why a lot of people I know in finance are moving into crypto because they see that, trend happening. So,
Thank you, Ray.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to start from like regulators' point of view. I think there's a lot of new family offices that are getting into Web3 now just because, of the regulations that, they're constantly changing and constantly updating. They're a little bit more pro-crypto. And I just want to say that, like, even though the market seems to be very, a little bit pessimistic right now, it will pass as usual. It's a cycle. Bear market's going to go away soon, hopefully, and it's a time to build, right? And I think for the next bull run, we have yet to see the web NFT cycle, right? Like NFTs are not like tokens. So tokens you've seen at least 2 to 3 cycles for already, right? But for NFTs, we've only seen an up and net down. So I just want to, I'm excited to anticipate the next bull of NFT because I just assume that there's going to be a lot of derivatives that are going to come out that are going to be a different version of NFT 1.0 that already happened, right? So it's not going to be PFPs. It's going to have a lot of utilities. It might be banded with equity or, different ownerships or, different kind of representations of a company. So yeah, I think NFT is going to have a lot of things. And then second of all, AI, 100%, since I said that that's like a new thesis I'm building for my fund. There's going to be also a lot of different DAO tools, as Andy was saying from a previous panel, if you were here. Even though it seems to be, a little bit difficult to for VCs to kind of notice because the profits are just not, it's the P&L and the business model of DAO is just not very attractive to investors, to be very frank, right? Because they are not tokens, but a lot of them might not issue tokens, so the dumponomics can happen. But I personally really believe in the future of DAOs because technically I've been reading so many threads of how in the future, all the issuing salary and the governance in between in a company is going to be replaced by a lot of these multi-layered tokens that can be introduced within a DAO. So I think that is also something that AI can change because AI can actually help governance.
We gotta wrap up.
Oh, sorry, we gotta go? Okay. Let's not lose hope and have
last sentence,
faith.
Last sentence.
Have faith.
Have
The
faith.
end.
Exactly. Also, just 3 sentences from my, so 3 things that I am really looking closely. It's one is the solution exactly of regulation. I recently talked with Max about the Coinbase case, stuff like that, and I think Coinbase is currently one of the 2 companies together with Ripple that can take on the SEC, and I think the outcome is gonna really be shaping the future path of crypto, I think. So this is something what we need to look for. We need to strive for and fight for technological neutrality, that regulators can understand that, blockchain is just a technology on which upon people can build different things. Second of all, we need to solve, I think, payment rails on and off ramps, for instance. I think this is a huge issue for every Web3 company. And I think third, what I would like to see is the tokenization of real-world assets taking off, right? Because currently, DeFi revenue, if you're honest, it's purely speculation-driven. But if you had real-world assets onto the blockchain, like real estate, securities, tokens, equities, then I think this would take a little bit away of this speculation nature of DeFi. And we are seeing already these first steps going to this direction with the MakerDAO treasury. They have already, I think, a couple of millions in real-world assets. So I'm really bullish on this narrative. Yeah, then thanks a lot, Ray and Cher. I think took a little while.
All right, thank you guys one more time to Ray, Jongtan, and Cher.